Hello, this is the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Thank you so much for tuning into this video in which we'll go through what we did in week 5. So remember, in week 6 on Tuesday is the test. So this is the last bit of stuff that will be on the test. Everything I've mentioned in the previous weekly revision videos, plus the 2 topics we've covered in week 5, first being order of operations, second rounding decimals. So let's start with order of operations. The acronym is BIDMAS. This tells you the order in which you perform operations. So you do whatever's in the brackets first. Then after that is index. Index means power. Mean exactly the same thing. Then division and multiplication, they're kind of on the same level. You do division or multiplication next, whichever comes first from left to right. Same with addition and subtraction. They're basically the same, so you do whichever comes first, left or right. So do anything in the brackets, then raising powers, then division or multiplication, whichever is first, left to right, and then do addition or subtraction, whichever is first, left to right. So let's look at these 3 questions here. So we'll start with an easier one. So here we have 2 operations, addition and multiplication. Our chart here tells us multiplication comes before addition. So when we're doing this, we wouldn't do 4 plus 5 first. We'd leave the 4 alone. We do the 5 times 8 first. 5 times 8 is 40, and so my answer is 44. So to show the correct working out, make sure you're working down the page and make sure each line equals the line above it. So let's say I want to do this one here now. So I have brackets. So I'm going to do everything in the brackets first. So in the brackets, I have a division and an addition. Division comes before addition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do minus 24 divided by 3 first. So minus 24 divided by 3 is minus 8. I leave the plus 4 alone for now. So now I still have an operation in the brackets, which is plus. After the division, I do the plus. Minus 8 plus 4 is equal to minus 4. So now that I've done the 2 operations in the brackets, next I'm going to do the index, raising to a power. So minus 4 squared is equal to minus 4 times minus 4, just so you know, and that's equal to positive 16. My final answer, positive 16. Remember, whenever you square a negative, you always get a positive answer. So let's look at this last one here. So again, we've got a few operations. So I have a couple of multiplications here, and I have a subtraction. I'm going to do everything in the brackets first. So I'm going to leave the minus 10 alone, and I'm going to do the brackets. So here I have 3 times minus 2. I'm going to do that first. So leave the minus 6 alone. So now I do 3 times minus 2 is negative 6. I have minus 6, subtract negative 6. But remember, 2 negatives next to each other make a positive. So now I've got a times and a plus, but I'm going to do the plus first because it's in the brackets. Normally I do multiplication before addition, but because the plus is in the brackets, I'm going to do that first. Remember, the only point of brackets is sometimes we need to change the order of operations. So minus 10 I'll leave alone. Minus 6 plus 6 is 0. So I get minus 10 times 0, which is just 0, and then I'm done. So make sure you know the acronym of BIDMAS and how to apply it. Let's now look at rounding decimals. So when we're rounding decimals, we're finding a number that's basically very, very close, but has fewer digits after the decimal place. Sometimes we'll get answers like this, and we don't want to write heaps of numbers after the decimal point because they lose meaning. So we're going to round each of these numbers to a different number of decimal places. Now, in order to round decimal place, you need to identify the critical digit. So the critical digit is 1 more than the number of decimal places to which you're rounding. So if I'm rounding to 0 decimal places, the first number after the decimal place is the critical digit. If I'm rounding to 1 decimal place, the second number after the decimal point is the critical digit. If I'm rounding to 2 decimal places, the third number after the decimal place is the critical digit. And so the rule for the critical digit is 5 or more raise the score, 4 or less leave the mess. So let's go ahead and round this number to the nearest whole number. That means I want to round it to 0 decimal places. I want to find the closest number to this that has no decimal places. I want to find the closest whole number to 0.6923. So this is the critical digit. Because it's 5 or more, I go to the previous number and raise it by 1. So I'm going to raise 0 to 1. 1 is the closest whole number to this here. So that's my answer to the nearest whole number. If I want to raise this here to 1 decimal place, note that's the same as rounding to the nearest tenth, because the first column after the decimal point is the tenths column. It goes tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. So I'm going to find the closest number to this that only has 1 digit after the decimal place. So my critical digit is 5 or more, so I'm going to go to the previous one and raise it by 1. So to the nearest tenth, it's 1.8. 1.8 is the closest number to this that has only 1 decimal point. So let's now look at this last example. I'm going to round this number to 2 decimal places. So now my critical digit is 4 or less. So because it's 4 or less, I'm not going to increase this one by 1. I'm just going to leave it and chop all these numbers off. So I'm just going to write 3.28 to 2 decimal places and leave the mess 146. I'm just going to get rid of it. So this number, 3.28, is closer to this than 3.29 would be. That's why I didn't raise this to a 9. So 3.28 is the closest number with 2 decimal places to this number here. We're just finding numbers that are very close, but a lot simpler to work with in each case. All right, thank you so much for tuning into this video. This has been the luckiest maths teacher in the world. Have a great day.